All is love is all.
Hello and welcome to Pray Love, hosted by Deb Maybury and Dave Rogers. We show up here live on Facebook and also YouTube every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Hello, Mr. Rogers.
Good afternoon, and how are you?
I'm doing well, actually. It's been a crazy few days for a handful of reasons, but I always look forward to coming live on Pray Love with you. And we have a guest this evening who is a returner, and he always makes me laugh. So I'm really looking forward to this evening. I could use a lot of laughter. How have you been?
Never better.
Never better. Well, I just saw a tiny bit of your show there. Your son is doing more types of investing, so it's always very interesting to listen to.
He just turned 21.
Did he? Oh, well, happy birthday. How does that feel, Pops?
It was actually quite a experience because his birth was my most traumatic day in my life. And I did a full moon ceremony and spent about 2 days doing a detox after it. And it was quite emotionally charged, and it was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, that's great. Actually, speaking to my cousin who's been on the show too, Eunice Wong, and she was talking about me coming out to Winnipeg next summer for a moon ceremony with her, a women's event. But anyways, let's turn it over to you to do the land blessing, and then we'll bring on our guest.
Well, we would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe. This territory is governed by the Upper Canada Treaties, is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Mother Earth, Father Universe, Father Cosmos, all of our enlightened beings, guides, and teams, thank you for allowing us to come together tonight for some connection, some exploration, and some sharing of love. Namaste.
Namaste. Okay, let's bring in our guest. There he is.
All the way from New Zealand. He is known in some parts of the world as the Purple Guy. In my world, he's Keith Mason, a brother, an elder, and an amazing human being who has traveled all around in the service of humanity. Welcome, Keith, and how are you doing today?
Welcome, Dave. Welcome, Deb. I'm great today. It's a fun time over here at the moment. It's a fun time in the world because we've been given this opportunity to reflect, and I'm enjoying that.
You know what? Say more about that, Keith, right off the top, right? Because a lot of people are struggling, but I love the idea of reflecting a lot more than suffering.
Well, there's a whole lot of work, huge bodies of work that are coming out all around the world now on trauma. And it's traditionally talking about external trauma, okay? But the point that's really powerful about that for me, guys, is that the underlying statement is that trauma is not what happens to you. Trauma is what happens inside of you about what happened to you. And so we're in this place at the moment where external events that we have no power over. We can fight and argue about masks, but you can't go to the supermarket in some countries without one. We can fight and argue about the injections, but you can't take your kids to school in some countries soon without them. We can fight and argue and traumatize ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening in a lot of situations.
Because for many people, their ability to manage change is not developed. Their ability to be flexible in their mindset, to find compassion and empathy for themselves and others is not well developed. So, Deb, they're traumatizing themselves by trying to go back to normal. They're traumatizing themselves by what they've lost. They're traumatizing themselves by how it should be. They're listening to the news. I got really surprised, and I want to prefix this. I'm not trying to diminish anyone's pain. You know, we all feel pain. We all have different levels of pain, and we all can handle physical or emotional pain differently. Some of us are struggling mentally. So I'm not trying to diminish that. I'm fortunate to be in New Zealand, and I'm so fortunate. Before the show, I showed you the beach. Well, someone came up to me yesterday and said, Australia's in lockdown. I went, isn't the world? And they said, no, we've been able to travel to Australia inside our bubble for a little while. I'm going, cool. And they said, yes, it's almost back to normal. I said, that would have been wonderful. They said, yes, but my family's trapped in Australia because they went over in normal and now they've closed the borders. And there's 20,000 New Zealanders in Australia who went for a holiday, who went to see their family, who went to see everything, who are now trapped on the other side of the country. And some of them are in hotels and some of them, it's a huge chaos. And we have, are you ready for it? And we have no isolated quarantine ability left. So they have to go in the waiting list, the months long waiting list to be quarantined to come back into the country. So who's traumatized themselves?
Well, the people making the decisions, right?
Yes, exactly. They made a decision and they were warned before they went over. Hey, these borders will close at any time.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult
and now
because people feel trapped. People do feel trapped in their own mind, right? Because of this.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Some people could go, wow, I've got a good excuse not to be at work. Wow, I'm with my family for another 3 months and without work pressure because it's not my fault. Wow. And some people are going, oh my God, I'm stuck on the other side of the country. This is all the situation is the situation. What we do with it is up to us.
Mm-hmm.
In my world. So the reason why I told that story is I'm watching a lot of people traumatizing themselves.
I would almost take it, there's an element of traumatizing and then probably re-traumatizing themselves because they've had that perhaps trauma when they were a kid. And so now they've learned how to trigger it and re-trigger it and re-trigger it. And
sure.
They become masters of trauma.
Oh, absolutely, which is possibly the reason why they had to run across to the other side of the country the moment the gate opened.
It's a tricky one to talk about because I know exactly what you're talking about. It's all about choice, and the perception that we have in our mind is the reality that we create, and what we think we will feel. And if people feel like they're being restrained and people are taking that control away from them and they want to travel, then as soon as they get the opportunity or see a window, then they jump. And they're also in the hopeful thinking, and I'm seeing this all the time in with the various people I'm speaking to, is people think we're through it. Well, but we're not. We're not anywhere close to it. And if you want to be careful, you follow the protocols and you still stay close to home. And I'm just seeing it here, like right now, Keith. I mean, we're just sort of chomping at the bit, and people are just busting out because there's a high percentage of people that have been vaccinated, and people are just so tired. But to me, when I look at it over the course of my life, it seems like a very small time, a year and a half. And if everybody was super disciplined, like in a place like, you're in a smaller, obviously, country, but you followed the protocols there, and you guys got out of it. And we haven't done that.
Yeah, and I think that's the point I'm trying to make. It's easy for me to sit at the beach and talk this way because I have that freedom. All right, I have that freedom, but it's not just the freedom to be in a country that doesn't have much COVID. It's the freedom in my heart, and it's the freedom in my mind to be able to respond to what is, rather than to live in a world of what could be or what was, and living outside the moment as opposed to living inside the moment. And so
what's the key?
I told that story as I was so gobsmacked that the border had been open and closed, and I hadn't even bothered about it. Because this is the point I want to say. It's not just my desire to travel or someone's desire to travel. I went to see somebody the other day, and I was going to Auckland. And they said, oh, when you go to Auckland, you can't go today. And I'm going, oh, why not? And they said, there's a tractor protest from the farmers. And I go, okay. And so we spent an hour and a half planning how I was going to avoid this tractor protest that was all around the country that I knew nothing about because I came from the beach where I don't live with media. All right. I refuse to live with media. So I kind of, an hour and a half of my life went out discussing it. And then we went to lunch, and there was another hour of my life went out of discussing this tractor thing. And in the end, I left when I was planning to. I didn't change my plan at all, and I never saw a tractor. So in my world, the tractors didn't exist. In their world, the tractors existed for days beforehand. They organized their whole trip to see their children around the tractors. Then they wanted to bring me into that world. Then they wanted me to change my plans because of the tractors to fit their belief structures and their fears of being held up in traffic for a few moments. Oh my gosh. And I never saw a tractor because it was never in my world in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was never in my world in the first place.
Yeah, we see what we look for. You know, there's something about being cautious with the protocols, but, you know, I just kind of go on and do my thing and try to be very careful. And, you know, and for me, what I'm tired of is hearing. I like to know where things are, but I just get tired of talking about COVID. That's just where I am right now. So if you're done on that one.
I hear you.
It's important.
And I might be
important, and I know what you're talking about. So, but I mean, what is the key to staying in that element of choice and choosing a higher frequency thought versus something that causes trauma and pain? What's the choice? What's the key to being there?
That's a magnificent question. All right. Normally trauma, because the trauma gives you importance. Trauma puts importance on something. That's either more of it because it's my solution to feeling bad, or less of it because it's my cause of feeling bad. So it doesn't really matter where I start. All right. And this is to me, this is the whole spiritual self-growth, self-determination, living in the moment process. It's about understanding that our soul, we're off topic, or are we on topic? We're just rolling?
Yeah.
We're rolling? Okay.
Sure.
So we're rolling. Okay. To me, our soul chooses. I fought bitterly not to be here for the Great Reset. And I agreed finally to come down here at the time of the Great Reset. But to be able to give me enough perspective, they said you have to go there 60 years before the reset. I went, fudge off. Can't I just turn up like God did, you know, an immaculate conception, pop into the world, do whatever I need to do here in the reset and pop back out, you know? And they said, well, it is really a pop in and a pop out. Because where you come from, it is really just a pop in and a pop out. But you're attached to the body that you inhabit. I go, well, of course, because I am my body, aren't I? I am my body, aren't I? I am Keith, aren't I? Well, no, sorry. Unfortunately, I've had enough experiences to have people take over my consciousness. I have brought Buddha through my body, and Buddha has walked in my body and spoke through my body. I could go on and on. I really realize that this meat sack is a construct to carry my consciousness around so that I can see, feel, and touch whatever I dream of.
So there's the question: where's your consciousness? This is in debate, right?
Oh,
where is consciousness?
Okay. How deep do you want to go on this topic?
I want you to go as deep as you can go and don't hold back.
Oh, fuck. Sorry. Oh, fudge. All right. Okay. Here's, as I understand it, consciousness is like this huge primordial soup of energy. And some in its loosest form, some call it source, some call it the quantum field, some call it energy, source, whatever. There's trillions of words that our limited human mind tries to describe the unlimited self. Okay? And inside that primordial soup, you can construct anything. We can construct gods. We can construct higher selves. We can construct past lives. We can construct, it's like this huge opportunity. We can come together, and this will blow some people. If you really want me to go wild, this will blow some people. So you ready? You are not you. You're not even your consciousness, because you don't exist. You are a compilation. You're like the best. You know that when they used to have albums, they'd have the 20 best songs of the Bee Gees. Yeah. Well, there are some people running around the planet at the moment who are at least 7 different consciousness or 7 different aspects come together to live in a body simultaneously. So they have one part of them that's an expert on connection, base chakra. One who's an expert on passion, creativity, movement, excitement, shifting. One who's an expert on clarity, options, choices, how things combine. One who's an opportunity on love. Just one who's so into the what we would call expression. So they want to move energy and see if it follows the way they want. So, they sing, they talk, they want to express it and see if they can make sound waves ripple out and create the impact that they want. And some are visionaries. They go, well, if we had this and I don't like it, what do I want? And how do I see myself? And how do we see each other? And color and change and shape and form and technology and blah, blah, blah. And some who just sit there and go, well, I'll just keep you together here and trust that we'll all get along. And my job's to help manage us all to fulfill what we chose to get together. And that's how some of us are.
That's pretty funny because I'm actually studying parts right now. I'm a psychotherapist, right? So I'm spending some extra time on parts. So it makes complete sense. But you still didn't. Maybe you're not there yet. Where does consciousness reside? If this is a flesh body, but where is it?
But that's the part. Your humanness is trying to make it reside somewhere. You're trying to encapsulate something that is never still.
But I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just asking your opinion.
Well, your question might try to.
Where or what it is.
Okay, it's a self-forming, self-creative, self-changing, ever-shifting, ever-learning, ever-evolving, ever-experiencing, singular encapsulation. So it's everything and something. And at the same time, it becomes nothing.
So then everywhere and nowhere.
Yeah. And then for a split moment in time, for a split frequency in time, it sings a song. And the song that it sings is full up of thousands of notes and different breaths and different things. And it sings a song through this vehicle. And it goes, wow, I wanted to see what I could create down there. That's what I've created. Now, that transition between everything and something goes through a place of nothing. And that place of nothing is everything, unexpressed. And that's traditionally the heart. And that's traditionally what you might call the heart chakra, not the pumping heart. It's the blend between the three upper pathways, the three upper which are more energy based, and the three lower that are more physical based, that are more about here, and some was about from where we come from. And we go through this DNA type spiral of moving from I'm consciousness that I've woken up in this thing, which I agreed to have, but it's really small, and I can't sleep because I'm encapsulated by all this fucking emotion from this thing that I'm encapsulated in. And then they try and poison me with drugs, alcohol, and food. And every time they meet somebody, I feel all their contractions, and then I feel all their expansion, and I'm trying to, boy, Christ, it's like a washing machine and a dryer simultaneously, and that's called in uteri.
Dave?
But that's okay, because I'm still 1 foot up there. I'm still up there. I'm just dipping my consciousness into the body that I'm going to have, because I want to understand the environment that I'm in. All right. And so as I go through, I bring more and more of my consciousness in, but I'm still multidimensional at that stage, or shall we call it multi-frequency, which dictates dimensions. Multi-dimension is just multi-frequency, and someone's tried to layer the dimensions in a frequency. This band is this frequency, and this band is this frequency. It's just multi-frequency. So here I am. I'm still not in the body yet. I've gathered round and I've said, oh, look, I want that mother and I want that father, because, boy, look at that trauma back down there in that family. You know, she raped him and he beat her. And look over here, this one's going to go bankrupt down the road, so I want him because then they're going to have money pressures. Man, this is going to be the primordial soup that I want to be incarnated into. And then halfway through it, I'm just about in there, and I realized I made a mistake, so I bought the fetus and I back out. Or I'm just in there and I'm thinking, no, there's not enough emotional trauma in here. I want more pain in my soup. I want more in it. So I'm going to keep her up so she can't sleep. Or I'm going to make sure that she can't have sex. It hurts too much. And so their relationship, which is only based on something, sex or something, is going to blow apart. And now I've got a single mother, which is exactly what I want, because I wanted a fighter. And so when I get the events the way I want, and us humans think we're in charge of that, how limited are you? I get it all sorted, and I still know exactly what I'm doing because I'm multidimensional. But as the fetus grows, I get a bigger vehicle. I activate more and more of my brain, because my brain is activated by my life force. It's just a computer activated by my most complex computer we've ever experienced, which is why it takes so long to build. But the whole time I'm just feeding it bits so that I get preordained. I might even poke in some old memories from some past lives to make it feel like it's real. And I'm just going to set up this environment that I want to experience. Oh, by the way, I will check to make sure that I'm here so many years ahead of the Great Reset, so that when I've matured and got through my trauma and balanced my life out, I'm able to be still in the Great Reset. Because, you know, that's really only a couple of days down in consciousness terms, because it's a frequency rise, but in humanity terms, it's a whole lot of cycles. And I'm almost there. We're in labor. oh God, this is good now. How do I want to set up the labor? Do I want my mother to hate me? Do I want my mother? Oh, I'll just, well, whatever. And guess when my consciousness fully embodies in my human reality? When I take my first solo breath. Because in that moment, I'm in charge of that body. Until then, my mother was in charge of that body. I'm now breathing the body, and I slip my consciousness full into it. And as I do it, I slip through the veil, and I take ownership of the vehicle that I spent a long time crafting. And as I slip through the veil into human consciousness, all of that I knew is a distant memory. It's like a dream. And then I start living out my trauma. I start living out the world I created. I start living out the interpersonal dynamics that I set up for my ability to master love, to be able to stay in a place of love and stay in a place of inner connection, to stay in a place of hope, compassion, empathy, all of those beautiful things that we all strive to. Well, that's how I live. And then I'm supposed to, by the way, I'm not saying I do, but I'm supposed to go to sleep each night and do a download. I'm supposed to go, okay, this is everything I've got up there. What are we going to do tomorrow? But I don't. Because down here, we don't do that shit. We only, down here, we have dreams, but we don't pay any attention to them. And so after a while, I stopped doing the upload. So then my software gets really stale. And as my software gets stale, as my upload consciousness, in your terms, I start to become a little more numb and dumb. And my parents are trying to influence and love me and dictate me to a caricature of their life. They want to traumatize me by their trauma. But that's okay, because I knew that was going to happen. So it's whether I'm going to be swept away or whether I can stand up. Do I do it lovingly? Do I fight? What are my coping mechanisms for their trauma, which I already knew, but I've forgotten that I picked it. So I want to blame and shame and all that other shit. And then I keep on going, and hopefully sometime along the line, I realize I'm my own person. So where does consciousness lie? Well, it's split at that time, because all the stuff up here that set everything up down there is waiting for me to open up. But that's okay, because we set it up. So I was really focused on connection. So my first thought was downward to the earth. I'm really into the earth. Oh my God, I'm an earth-based pathway. Environmental stuff, family, connection, it's critical, it's radical, it's community, it's what I ever focus on. And the whole time I focus outside myself on all that, I get disappointed because no one shares the same truth. It's because I haven't started yet to connect with myself. So I want to look outside for safety. I want to look outside for connection. I want to look outside for meaning. I want to save the planet when I'm really trying to learn to save myself. And then I want to teach my children to be a caricature of my own wounding, and I'm only halfway through my own process of wounding. But that's okay, because their soul picked it, so they're loving the fact that I'm at least on the pathway, and it's all good, and our primordial soup develops even more. And so I'm waiting for the day my mother or my father wakes up, because in their program, their soul had an opportunity to wake up, that they were going to have a car accident around their 50s, and that was going to traumatize them, going to lose, and they're going to open up their heart and surrender. And I'm just waiting for that day. And boom, when it happens, oh shit, they didn't see it was a good thing. They're in blame and shame, and now they're angry and battered, and damn, that opportunity was missed. But nevertheless, I've now got a backup plan and a backup plan, and these things are what we call events in our life. And I've set those up because everything's set up in a matrix of consciousness, numerically expressed, chemically induced. And I'm in life. Now, when I start from that paradigm, who cares about what's happening outside? When I'm not yet on that journey and I'm still addicted to being a human, believing that what I do here matters when it's nothing more than a dream, when I wish to ship and shape and shift the world rather than just having the fun of playing in the sandpit, then I'm traumatized. Because in the process, I realize I'm actually utterly powerless to induce change outside of myself. I can influence change outside of myself. I can stimulate opportunities for change outside myself. I can think I've done it perfectly so someone will grow outside, but I really can't do fucking shit because they've got their own interface and they don't necessarily read my software message that I sent to them in an energetic term. In fact, I thought I loved them and they thought I hated them, and boy, off we go on the cesspit again. And so when I come inward and be me and find me, then I find that stillness in my heart. And then I find those layers of consciousness that I left up there. And then I find the layers and expression of the energy down here. And if you want to look at that, then I'm in Drunvalo's Dalo, then I'm in the infinity single as above and so below, and the stillness is in the heart, and I'm living my plan. And my plan is, my purpose is not what I'm going to do. My purpose is nothing more than who am I going to be? Am I going to have these major parts of myself that, by the way, could be complete strangers to me in layers of different aspects of consciousness who said, we think you might be the man to play. Can we come and play in your sandpit? You want to share my body? Of course. You can have the front seat, the top seat, the bottom seat. I'm going to have the driver's seat. And if we are at that level, we're really, really lucky. If we're not at that level, we have to learn how to create that within ourselves. We have to learn to understand passion and adventure and movement. We have to learn to understand self-expression and self-truth and authenticity and transparency. And we have to learn to have choices rather than decisions. And we have to learn to have options rather than right and wrong. And in that process, we have to realize that we are a living, breathing, organic, growing, blah, blah, blah of consciousness that I said before, because you can express it 7 million ways. And we have to come back inside and go, hello, who am I? And who do I choose to be today? And in that moment, I'm empowered. And yeah, but most of us don't get there because we plan today what we're going to do next week.
Mm-hmm.
Thus we traumatize ourselves.
You make
now that's okay.
many good points.
Sorry, what was that, Deb?
I said you make many good points. We could break up each one of those, themes. Oh, Dave's on the time.
Oh, have I rabbited too much? Oh shit, sorry guys.
No, that's perfect. You did great. You actually ended right at 33 minutes. And we have something here, the magical 33-minute moment, that we tend to ask a question or honor the magic of 33. And so that is pretty cool. That deep breath you just took was the 33rd minute.
Well, I live in divine flow.
Well, divine timing is part of what we look to infuse into each of these sessions. And so, Deb, do you have a question or a specific flavor for the day?
The magical moment that I'd like to ask you about, and I'll ask for a succinct answer, but a thorough answer. How does someone honor their body and also be detached from their body? Like, that sounds like a really magical kind of question, to be able to have that awareness of both.
How do they do that?
Is that supposed to be something we're supposed to be doing or attaining?
Yes. I think the first part would be to recognize that your body is not a thing. It's a living, operating system. And it's there to support you on your journey. So naturally, you'd want to honor your body and work with your body and understand the way your subconscious can show you what it's seeing in the world and how it can show you your programming and how it can show you your conditioning. Of course, we'd want to all that wisdom that's locked up in our body to come out. All right. So of course we'd honor that, and that would be an essential thing. And how do you do that? You change your consciousness to looking at your body and going, you have a wisdom that's beyond my knowledge. You, my body, recognizes every muscle tension, every breath catch to every thought that I ever have. You know every physical response to every situation, every person, every weather event, every thought, every emotion that I know. You witness it, you experience it, you live it. So you're the best person to tell me when I'm inauthentic. You're the best person to tell me when my mind is telling lies to me. You're the best person to tell me that trauma is no longer present, that it happened when I was 5 and it's come up now, not for me to relive it, not for me to retalk it, but for me to review the circumstances. And at 3, I couldn't stop something, but at 33, I can. And at 66, it's who cares a fuck. And this is to re-empower yourself, to re-engage with yourself. And this is why we don't talk about this much, but this is why your consciousness goes in cycles so that you can recognize the cycles. This is why your body and your human development goes in cycles so you can recognize the cycles and understand the language of those cycles. Because they're showing you the development process of the consciousness that's unconscious to you. And so how do you do that, Deb? You get out of your thinking mind. You have 2 minds and 1 heart. It's called the Holy Trinity. Sorry, you want it blunt? I'm a bit long, but here, it's called the Holy Trinity. You have your left hemisphere of your brain that's lineal, step by step, and you have the right hemisphere of your brain. It's interesting that it's called the right hemisphere. There could be a hint in the design manual. It's the right hemisphere. It's the right hemisphere. All right. And in the right hemisphere of your brain, you think in serial interaction patterns, interrelationship. There's no limitations. You go up and down through the quantum field. You live in nirvana. Now, those 2 have totally different views of the world. So first off, you need to work out which brain you're using when you're looking at your trauma, or which brain you're using when you're looking at your planning, or which brain you're using when talking to your body. Because underneath that, you have your reptilian body, which is the pure biomechanical functions of your body. Well, you need to get access in there too to understand what's happening chemically to your brain, because what's happened, your body produces the chemicals that influence, and then we get back to food and nutrition, and that's a whole new topic. But finally, you've got to go to your heart, which is the doorway of your soul. That's where the secret magic is. That's where the unique you is. It's not in your brain. It's in your heart. And when we transfer our heart into another vehicle, there's lots of us, people have flashbacks about the people who killed them, but the body they're in, the brain they're in, wasn't there, had nothing to do with it, but it can read the energy of the heart because it's pre-programmed to actually read the energy of the heart. And most of the reason why Deb doesn't read it, because we don't want to deal with the pain. We tell the mind to make us numb and dumb and turn off the pain receptors, so that let's have a drug, sex, coffee, food, whatever. So how do you do that? Well, thousands of things. The best thing, am I allowed to have a little bit of a play here? The best thing you do is you get someone who knows this shit and gets them to show you. One of the best things that we have lost is the mystery schools. Because we've got this egocentric, westernized view that the answer is within us. We've got this. Of course it is. It's buried inside my heart under layers and layers of trauma and self-denial. Of course it's in there. But if I was the right person to find it, I would have already fucking found it, wouldn't I? Christ, how ego-driven are we? We need a partner. And this is what the ultimate design of humanity was, that your life partner was the person to show you. With love, compassion, and empathy. To call you on your bullshit, to show you on your delusions, to pick up the inaccuracies in your language, to call your behavior and your emotional state and say your words don't match the energy that you're portraying. This is what your partner was. It was a partner to grow with. But most of us now want a partner to satisfy us so that we don't have to grow, because we don't want to be challenged. So we look for someone that just slips alongside us. So, Deb, in an hour of focusing on someone, I can show them 6, 8, 10, 15 different aspects of their trauma that plays out in their life. Just by checking in with them, I can ask them, are you doing this yet? And they go, oh no, oh well, okay. Are you doing? Their map is available. When you get out of this egocentric self, their energetic map is sit there like a storybook. But our ego doesn't like that, because we want to be the mystical one that uncovers our own wonderfulness, but fits our picture of ourselves. So the old mystery schools would put us in situations where we had to look at our own self. And if you want to make it really spiritual, go to the Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. This kid thought he was polishing the car or painting the fence. He was conditioning the body. So when he went into the fight and someone's hand up, he went wax on, wax off. When he went to hit someone, he went up and down. This was a conditioning tool. Life is here to condition you, and you're to see whether you're playing out a choice or you're playing out a learned behavior. And you need a witness for that. You need a witness to call you on your bullshit. To me, that's how I see it. And we go on the solo journey. Dave taught me, Dave, this is a call out to you. All the time that we spent traveling around the world and bumping into each other, you had this phrase that's etched in my mind, is ask a better question. Ask a better question. Because if you ask a better question, when I asked you about that, you said, when you sense where someone is, ask them a series of questions that get them to where you see them being. Well, that is based on the assumption they can't see where they are. Isn't it? So inside this most powerful tool that I keep on repeating, and I should give you copyright as per Dave Rogers, but anyway, I go, ask a different question, ask a better question. If I was not human, why am I here on the reset? If I am evolved soul, why am I here when the normal is no longer going to be normal? Why did the whole world stop? And it never has in its history, except when it rotated the poles. Why did it stop on the brink of annihilation and now starting to reform in a total? Why is everything becoming transparent? What is this actually about? But some of us aren't asking those questions big enough. They're
Well, it's pretty hard to get there when you're in.
When can I go on holiday? And sorry, what's that, Deb?
How do people get there when they're in survival mind? And that's where a lot of people are right now. They're seeing a very real threat to the body and to the socialization to the system, right? But I want to get Dave in here. Dave hasn't even said anything tonight, but I want to get Dave to ask a better question. to ask a question.
I don't like Dave's questions because they're always challenging, Deb. That's not fair.
Actually,
I don't want to show myself up. Okay,
I had a really easy question for you today, because I wanted to explore. Yet you've been playing with consciousness, so you're almost playing at the 7th level. Where my question was about intuition, and
good. Yep.
I wanted to ask a playful question because you've developed intuition and you've got a wonderful sense of intuition. And I believe that with what Deb's saying about survival state, part of the pathway could be about assisting people with developing and trusting their intuition. My question was playful because I wanted you to talk about the moon and the way that if we acknowledge the moon and the different stages of the moon, in what ways would you find some wonderful moon-related exercises or activities that people can practice to develop trust and their intuition?
Okay, Dave.
Is that too complicated a question? I wanted it to be fun. I wanted your answer to be fun.
Okay. I don't really know much about the moon.
Okay.
So here's my beautiful reply. I don't really know much about the moon, but if you want to develop your intuition, go down, sit somewhere quietly, look at the moon and go, oh my God, how amazing you are. What are you doing here? And if you want to ask another question, go, hey, you come and go and you've been here for years. So maybe you're there when I go to sleep and you're there when I wake up. So maybe I just need to go to sleep and wake up. And maybe waking up is the best thing I can do every day. And maybe I just wake up like you and I shine upon the world a star like the moon does every day and go, it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. What am I going to do today? And so in that, Dave, you might ask, is that intuition? Well, it will be. Because you'll be asking yourself of yourself what you wish to make important today when you wake up. And that would be the simplest version that I would suggest of the moon, not knowing much about the moon cycles. All right.
What I'm hearing, just to give you feedback on what I'm hearing, is I'm hearing a kind conversation with self. I'm hearing a questioning that can allow the questioning to perhaps shift the vibration where it's curious and it's expressing patience and compassion in the journey to truth. That's what I'm hearing.
Good. Thank you for interpreting that, because patience is the thing. Patience with yourself. That's the most critical. And
sincere curiosity with patience and compassion is what I'm hearing.
Sorry, say that last piece.
Sincere curiosity with patience and compassion in self-conversation.
Yes. Yes.
And I have a feeling a little bit about what you've been sharing and also what Deb's infusing too. It may be that slowing down point and really having enough care for what you say and how you say it to be nice to oneself.
Yes. Yes, that would be a great practice. All right. And also to celebrate when you say something really nasty to yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'll just fall into the self-programming of only seeing nice stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So if you want to rage at the moon, you should rage at the moon. Because once you finish raging at the moon, you're going to realize I'm angry about something and maybe I should change it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's being, I guess does that fall into the realm in your vocabulary? Is that being truthful and honest? Or do you have other words that you use?
I'd rather use the word authentic.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. If I'm angry, I'm angry. If I'm hurt, I'm hurt. If I'm confused, I'm confused. If I'm powerless, I'm powerless. If I'm lost, I'm lost. But the moment I can own where I am and not try and cover it up, the moment I can own my state,
that might be a really great invitation to everybody who's listening today, or that you just mentioned 7, 8, 9 emotions that can be part of a day. Yet many people, they're not aware of how they're feeling because they don't maybe have the programming or reprogramming or relearning to identify the energy, emotion, or as we call emotions. And that might be another aspect of self-discovery. Deb, do you deal much with people expressing full emotions?
You know what? I find that there's two extremes. People either are afraid to express their emotions because they're afraid to get themselves upset, or they're afraid of hurting another person, or they're very much in a container and they're very shut down. Again, you know, with numbing, what I think is so critical is that there's a discussion, you know, with what we're saying, but also generally, that we have an awareness, we have a consciousness, and then we focus on what we do say, we focus on what we feel, we can acknowledge our experiences from a knowing place rather than a reactive place, and that people can develop the understanding that you do have choice. Because this is what I found that's been lost so much in this pandemic, is people feel that they've lost all the options and all the choice. And I just can't get my mind around that, because I think there are still so many things to do within, you know, within the protocols. But, you know, when you talk about intuition, people have really shut that down. They've turned that off, and they've become very reactive to an environment rather than really looking into how to develop the being part of ourselves, I feel. Keith?
Deb, if I can talk into that for a quick second. It's been my experience that most people, I don't want to be, well, okay, I'll just be me, that many people's intuition is not intuition. It's woundedness. Because if you happen to know anything about their life and then you see their intuition into a situation, you'll see it's their unconscious wounding playing out. So I believe that we need to be more emotional than mind generation. I think we need to open up the doors on our emotions to be able to see, feel who we actually are. Then make an empowered choice. I'm an angry bastard in this moment. Great. What am I angry about? I didn't get what I wanted. Well, is that reasonable? No, it's not reasonable. Okay, change your behavior. But if we get too logical, we won't even allow the emotions out. And if we try and develop our intuition without unleashing our emotions, we distort it. We distort it. And so many spiritual people distort, and I call spiritual people, they distort their intuition. And I could talk to you technically on energetic terms of how they do that. But I'll just show to you.
There's containing it, distorting it, intuition, and not allowing the emotions to process. And this is what I see. I am good, I am good, I am good, I am good. And that belief system that I'll be good, well, that only goes down part way. You know, that's a very intellectual thing to say.
Totally get it. All the way down to the emotion.
Not here.
All the way down.
I get what you're saying.
Down. Real, rip it open, pour your heart out, put it on the table, have a look at who you really, really are, not who you want to be. Don't be a wannabe. Be real. And surround yourself with people who honor that. Surround yourself with people who go, I won't judge you for putting out your worst thought. I won't judge you for putting out your worst feeling, because I know it's temporary. Even if I'm surprised, I still know it's temporary. So put it out. Because when it's out, it loses its power. When it's inside, it retains power. When it's inside and bottled up, you still have an energetic connection to the mass consciousness around that topic. Mm-hmm. So when it comes out, it's not just your rage. It comes out with the mass consciousness's rage around that topic. Because this is the thing the spiritual people don't get. You are fully connected all the time to the matrix. Whether you want to own that connection, whether you want to own those negative connections, that's up to you to decide. But you are fully connected to every emotional component that surrounds this planet 24/7. Whether your mind wants to own that or not.
Well, I think if we go full on, we are one mind. Isn't that the whole idea that the consciousness is of one, truly? And yet we are independent beings in a sense that we can acknowledge that or not. People can think it's completely bogus. I mean, did we create the pandemic? Did we create this in order to then establish a period of time where this reset would be enacted?
Yep.
Did we agree before we came in?
Could I invite you just to consider an expansion? Here I am as my individual self, and here is we're all one mind. Could I just offer an expansion? Here I am as an individualized aspect of the one mind, and there are several thousand bloody layers before I get to the one mind. Because if I can do that, as much as there's 7 billion humans, there's 7 billion layers of frequency up this way, then I might get more engaged in this. Because there's so much more. But if I've just given myself a we are a one mind, I've gone, we're all human. But if I say to a human, you're exactly the same as the other one, we're all one race, we're all one human, people no, I'm separate. Because the change that we're looking for is in this range. As you're talking, it's in the emotional range. It's in the range of emotions from this spectrum to this spectrum is our growth. Our growth as humanity, our growth as a soul is in this dimension as well. Not just to the ideal of one mind. Because if we had more time and we were playing, I would take you just for fun to several one minds. And they would all call you one mind and you would go, oh my God, possibly, I don't know until I read your field. You'd go, oh my God. I'd go, great, now let's go to another oh my God. And let's go to another oh my God, because they're just layers of consciousness. The secret is then can you recognize the differences in those layers? The same way as can you notice the differences between these people? Can you notice the difference between these layers of energy? Can you notice the difference between deep-seated anger and frustration? Can you notice the difference between hurt and devastated? Can you notice the difference? Can you notice the difference? Can you notice the difference? Can you move amongst the difference? Can you take your energy from there and attach someone's and take it with you? Can you go there and ride underneath theirs and see where they go? Do you have this skill or is it in here? Because this skill is not in here. It's in your energy and in your consciousness and your freedom of thought constructs. It's in the freedom of thought. It's beyond belief and it's into experience. It's beyond conversation into authentic expression of where you're at. And so my standard thing when I meet, I'm not very well loved on it, but I meet some people and I go, look, can I just have permission to read your field, please? Because I don't believe what you're saying.
Well, you know what? I'm all for, if you want to stay online and go behind, you can read my field. I'd be happy to let you do that. I think it is so fascinating that I am so focused on parts right now. So everything that you're saying is completely where I am. That's just the way it always happens, right? But we're at the end of the hour. It just went by so quickly. We have less than a minute left here. Dave, thoughts on this evening?
Thank you so very much. It's been great. It's appreciate the insights and the sharing, and great to see you, brother.
We need to chat some more, my friend.
Final thoughts, Keith?
Be kind to yourself, be kind to another. Spend more time silent with yourself, even if it's unpleasant. All right. The answers are within, but ask yourself questions. about what do I want, or not what do I want, how do I want to be in every situation? Who am I? Who is the person I want to be as a person, not what I want to have. Who do I want to be? And then find someone who, if you're lucky, find someone who looks at you with love and suck it up.
And Deb?
Just suck it up.
All that I will say is when you're out and about, say hi to somebody and smile with no expectation of what comes back, and just be kind and good to each other. And Purple Guy, thank you so much for joining us again this evening. It went by very quickly. We'll have to have you on again. It's always fascinating conversations. If you want to stay behind, we'll catch you on the other side. Dave, my friend, thank you so much. I'll send you a note and we'll plan that golfing outing. Maybe we could go to New Zealand at some point and go golfing there.
Yay! Come to the beach.
Yeah, exactly. We're not allowed there yet. We're perfect humans at this point, right? But we'll get there. We'll get there. Thank you so much for watching this evening. We appreciate you being there and watching the show. Thanks again, guys. Good night. Namaste.
Love is all is love is all love is all